You just signed the papers, the ink is still drying. The realtor hands you the keys, shakes your hand, and says, "Congratulations, you're officially a homeowner." You walk into your new house, fresh paint, empty rooms. You stand in the living room, look around, and for a moment, it feels incredible. This is mine. I'm building equity. Prices always go up. This is the best investment I'll ever make. But fast forward 3 to 5 years. A lot of people who stood exactly where you are right now are quietly realizing something very different. Something almost nobody talks about in public. That house they were so excited about isn't making them richer. It's actually making them poorer. Not because the market crashed. Not because they lost their job. Not because they bought some overpriced McMansion. It's happening because in 2026, the real math of homeownership is quietly draining their cash flow, killing their investment opportunities, and stealing their financial freedom faster than most people are willing to admit. Right now, in early 2026, mortgage rates are still stuck between 6.4% and 7%. The national median home price is around $435,000 to $445,000. The average family buying a $450,000 to $600,000 house is putting 40 to 55% of their take-home pay toward housing costs. And month after month, they're watching their bank account get thinner, their emergency fund disappear, and their ability to invest for the future evaporate. They own a house on paper, they have equity, but in real life, in their actual bank balance, in their stress level, in their options, they are poorer than they were when they were renting. Today, I'm going to walk you through the 7 main reasons why buying a house, especially at today's prices and rates, is making so many middle-class and upper-middle-class families poorer over time, even though they think they're investing. If you are actively looking at houses right now, just bought one and already feel the squeeze every month, or are wondering why so many people who own seem more stressed and less free than renters, then stay with me, because what you hear in the next few minutes could save you hundreds of thousands of dollars, or at least stop you from walking into a financial trap that takes 10 to 20 years to escape. Let's start with the first and most obvious reason, the one almost everyone underestimates. The real monthly cost of owning is way higher than what you see on the mortgage calculator. We're getting into the numbers next. Here is the completed English voice script for part 2, continuing naturally and directly right after part 1. The first and most brutal reason buying a house is making so many people poorer right now is very simple. The actual monthly cost of owning is dramatically higher than what almost everyone expects when they sign the papers. Most people look at one number, the mortgage payment principal and interest that pops up on Zillow, Redfin, or the lender's pre-approval letter. They see something like $2,800 or $3,000 a month and think, okay, that's close enough to rent. I can handle it. But that number is only about 50 to 65% of the real story. Let's take a very typical example in 2026, a single-family home priced at $500,000, a common price point for a 3 to 4 bedroom house in good suburbs of mid to large metros, think parts of Atlanta, Charlotte, Dallas, Phoenix, Denver, Raleigh, Orlando, etc. Here's what the true monthly cost actually looks like. Down payment 10% equals $50,000. Many put down less, but let's use 10% as a reasonable average. Loan amount $450,000 at 7% fixed for 30 years. Principal and interest approximately $2,900 per month. Property taxes national average approximately 1.1% of home value, approximately $458 per month. But in high-tax states like New Jersey, Illinois, Texas, or parts of California, this can easily hit $600 to $900. Homeowners insurance, depending on location, flood zone, claims history, to $220 to $350 per month, and rising fast. many people are seeing 15 to 30% increases year over year. Maintenance and repairs. The realistic rule most financial planners quietly use is 2 to 2% of the home's value per year implies that's $500 to $833 per month averaged over time. This covers roof leaks, HVAC breakdowns, plumbing issues, appliances, dyeing, painting, landscaping, pest control. The things that always seem to happen at the worst possible moment. HOA fees very common in newer subdivisions and Sunbelt growth areas. $0 to $400 per month. Higher utilities, bigger house, larger yard, more. AC/heat plus $150 to $300 per month. Compared to a smaller rental. Add it all up, principal, interest, taxes, insurance, realistic maintenance, HOA and extra utilities, and the true all-in monthly cost of owning usually lands between $4,300 and $5,500. For most families buying in this price range in 2026, the number that actually hits their checking account every month is right around $4,600 to $5,100. Now compare that to renting the exact same quality house, same size, same bedrooms, same neighborhood, same schools. Rent for a comparable 3 to 4 bedroom single family home in a good area $2,700 to $3,600 per month. Many markets right now are landing in the $2,900 to $3,400 range. So the real monthly difference, the extra cash leaving your pocket just to own instead of rent, is $1,000 to $2,000 per month. That's $12,000 to $24,000 every single year. That's not going toward building wealth, not going into investments, not going into retirement, not going into an emergency fund, not going toward vacations or kids' activities or anything else that improves your life. It's just gone into banks, counties, insurance companies, repair, contractors, and utility companies. And here's the worst part, most of that extra $1,000 to $2,000 does not come back to you in the form of equity or appreciation, at least not enough to offset the opportunity cost. That's why so many new homeowners look at their budget 6 to 12 months in and say, wait, why do I feel poorer than when I was renting? Because they are. On paper, they have a house. In reality, their cash flow is being crushed. And this is just the first reason. The next ones get even uglier, starting with the massive opportunity cost of all that money being locked up in the walls. We'll get to that next. Stay with me, it's about to get real. So we just saw how the real monthly cost of owning is usually $1,000 to $2,000 higher than renting the same house, money that leaves your account every single month and rarely comes back in full. But that's only half the story. The even bigger, more painful reason buying is making many people poorer is the enormous opportunity cost of all that money being trapped inside the house. When you buy, you hand over $50,000 to $120,000 plus as a down payment or more. Every month you pay $1,000 to $2,000 extra compared to renting. That money isn't just paying down debt or building equity. It is dead capital. It's locked inside concrete, drywall, shingles, and plumbing. You cannot touch it, move it, or use it for anything else without selling the house, refinancing, which costs money, or taking out a home equity loan, which adds interest and risk. Now let's look at what happens if that same money had not been locked up. Take a realistic middle case example. Down payment $80,000 common for a $500,000 to $600,000 house. Monthly difference versus rent $1,500 on average. Very conservative, many people are paying $1,800 to $2,200 more. Instead of putting this into the house, you invested in a low-cost stock index fund, S&P 500 or total market with a realistic long-term average return of 7 to 9% per year after fees and taxes. Historical real return after inflation is around 7%, but we'll use 8% as a middle ground number. After 10 years, the original $80,000 down payment alone grows to approximately $173,000 at 8% compounded. The extra $1,500 per month invested consistently adds up to approximately $260,000 to $290,000 depending on exact timing and return. Total opportunity lost $430,000 to $460,000 in just 10 years. After 15 years, that number easily crosses $800,000 to $1 million or more. Now compare that to what the homeowner actually gets. After 10 years on a $450,000 loan at 7%, you've paid down principal by roughly $140,000 to $160,000. Most early payments are interest. If the house appreciates 3% per year, realistic in 2026 environment, it's worth approximately $670,000. Subtract remaining loan approximately $290,000 to equity approximately $380,000. So you've built $380,000 in equity, but you gave up $430,000 to $460,000 in potential investment growth elsewhere. You are already behind, and that's before we count transaction costs, surprise repairs, or any dip in home prices. The renter who invested the difference, they have $430,000 to $460,000 in liquid assets. Money they can access tomorrow without fees, without selling anything, without risk of market timing. The homeowner has paper equity that requires selling the house, paying 5 to 6% commissions, plus closing costs, plus moving expenses to turn into cash. That gap is why so many people who own feel financially stuck while renters in the same income bracket quietly build real accessible wealth. This is not theory. This is what happens when you lock hundreds of thousands of dollars into an illiquid asset, while the world offers liquid alternatives that compound every single month. And we're only on reason number 2. The next ones make it even worse. We'll get to reason number 3, the silent 8 to 10% tax you pay just to get in and out of the house right after this. Stay with me. Reason number 3 is one of the most ignored killers in the entire homeownership equation: transaction costs. Buying a house is not free. Selling a house is definitely not free. Let's break it down with real numbers for a typical $500,000 house in 2026. When you buy, closing costs usually run 2 to 3% of the purchase price. This includes loan origination fees, title insurance, appraisal, escrow fees, attorney fees in some states, prepaid taxes and insurance, and various other junk fees. That's $10,000 to $15,000 gone. The day you close, money you never see again, never earns interest, never appreciates. When you sell, and most people do sell within 7 to 12 years, realtor commissions are still typically 5 to 6% split between buyers and sellers' agents. Add transfer taxes, title insurance again, escrow fees, staging costs, minor repairs or updates to make the house show well, and possibly concessions to the buyer. For a $500,000 house, you're looking at $25,000 to $35,000 in total selling costs, often more if you need to fix things or offer buyer credits. Put it together, 8 to 10% of the home's value disappears just to get in and get out. On a $500,000 house, $40,000 to $50,000 of real cash leaves your pocket forever. It doesn't earn a penny of interest. It doesn't go toward equity. It doesn't appreciate. It's just gone a pure friction cost of ownership. The renter, they pay zero of these fees. Every dollar they don't spend on closing costs or realtor commissions stays in their account ready to be invested to compound to grow. Over a 10-year period, that $40,000 to $50,000 difference alone, if invested at a modest 7 to 8% return, could have grown to $80,000 to $100,000 plus. That's money the homeowner never gets back and the renter quietly pockets. Transaction costs are the silent tax on homeownership that almost nobody warns you about until it's too late. Reason number 4 is the one that catches almost everyone off guard. The large, unexpected repair bills that hit most homeowners within the first 5 to 10 years. People imagine home maintenance as minor stuff, painting a room, changing light bulbs, mowing the lawn. The reality is very different. Here are the most common 5-figure or higher hits that show up in the first decade: new roof. $15,000 to $35,000, depending on size, material, and location. Full HVAC system, replacement central air plus furnace, $8,000 to $18,000. Major foundation repair or complete repipe of plumbing lines, $15,000 to $50,000. Replacing all windows in the house, $10,000 to $25,000. Basement waterproofing, sump pump failure or sewer line replacement, $10,000 to $30,000. These are not rare disasters. They are normal wear and tear on a 10 to 30-year-old house, and almost nobody saves enough for them in advance. What happens when the bill arrives? Most families don't have a dedicated repair fund. They put it on a credit card, 18 to 25% interest. They pull from emergency savings, leaving them vulnerable. They borrow against the house, adding more debt. Or worst, they raid retirement accounts, paying taxes plus 10% early withdrawal penalty. Every one of these choices slows down wealth building and increases financial stress. The renter. They almost never face these bills. The landlord handles the roof, the HVAC, the plumbing, the foundation. The renter just pays rent and keeps the rest for themselves. That's why many homeowners feel like they're paying 2 mortgages, one to the bank and one to endless repairs. These 4 reasons alone: inflated monthly costs, locked up capital, transaction friction, and massive surprise repairs are already enough to make ownership a losing proposition for a huge number of people in 2026. But there are still 3 more reasons that make the picture even darker. We'll cover them next, starting with how owning can quietly turn you house poor and shrink your entire life. Stay with me. Reason number 5 is the one that hits people in the gut the hardest: being house poor, where owning the house makes your entire life feel smaller, tighter, and more restricted, even though you technically own an asset. In 2026, it is extremely common for families buying a $450,000 to $600,000 house to have 45 to 60% of their take-home pay going straight to housing costs, mortgage, taxes, insurance, maintenance, utilities, HOA. When that much of your income is locked into one single expense, you don't dare quit your job, even if it's soul-crushing or toxic, because one missed paycheck could start a spiral. You don't dare take any real career risks, starting a side business, learning a new skill that might take time to pay off, or switching to a field you actually care about. You don't dare take long vacations, upgrade your car, eat out without guilt, or even think about having another child, because every dollar gets mentally earmarked for making sure the mortgage clears this month. Every financial decision gets filtered through one question: can I afford this without jeopardizing the house payment? You end up living like someone much poorer than your gross income suggests. You're rich on paper, you have equity, you have a deed, you can tell people, I own my home. But in reality, you are poor in cash flow and poor in freedom. That's the textbook definition of house poor: asset rich, lifestyle poor. You own a bigger house than the renter next door, but they're the one who can actually enjoy life travel. Invest aggressively, change jobs freely, take a sabbatical, or just sleep without worrying about the next repair bill. The house didn't give you more life, it quietly took options away. And the worst part, most people don't realize how much freedom they lost until years later, when they look back and wonder why they never took that dream trip, never started that business, never felt financially secure, even though they did everything right. Reason number 6 is the myth that almost every homeowner repeats like a mantra: inflation makes my fixed mortgage cheaper over time, so owning is a hedge against rising costs. Yes, that's true on paper for the principal and interest portion of the payment, but in the real world of 2026, inflation helps far less and often hurts more than people admit. Here's why: property taxes almost always rise with home values and inflation, usually 3 to 6% per year, sometimes much more when reassessments hit. Homeowners insurance has been increasing 8 to 15% per year recently, and in some states even higher after major weather events or reinsurance costs. Maintenance and repair costs rise faster than general inflation. Labor, materials, and contractor rates have been climbing sharply. Utilities for a larger house, more square footage, more HVAC usage also go up steadily. So while your mortgage principal and interest stays fixed, assuming you didn't take an adjustable rate loan, every other major homeownership cost keeps marching higher. If your income growth is average, which for many middle-class households is only 2 to 4% per year after taxes, those rising costs eat up the inflation benefit and then some. A lot of people who bought 5 to 7 years ago at 3 to 4% rates are now discovering this the hard way. Their mortgage payment feels the same, but their total housing bill has jumped 20 to 40% because taxes, insurance, and repairs have exploded. They thought inflation would make the house cheaper over time. Instead, the house is getting more expensive in real terms every single year. The renter. Their rent goes up too, but they're not also paying rising property taxes, rising insurance, and five-figure repair surprises on top of it. Inflation is not the free lunch people think it is when you own. We're almost at the end. There's one final reason that ties everything together. We'll cover it next. Reason number 7 is the one that often hurts the most in the long run. Even if it doesn't show up on your monthly budget right away, owning a house locks you into a geography, and that loss of flexibility can cost you enormous life and financial opportunities. When you own, it becomes much harder to move for a better job in another city or state. Selling takes months, costs 5 to 6% in commissions, and you risk selling at a bad time if the market dips. It becomes much harder to make big life changes: divorce, caring for aging parents, switching careers, or even separating from a partner without massive financial pain. It becomes much harder to experiment with new lifestyles, going minimalist, becoming a digital nomad, moving back to your hometown, downsizing dramatically, or trying a lower-cost area. Every time you think about relocating, you have to run the numbers: realtor fees, closing costs, again, moving expenses, possible capital gains tax, and the emotional weight of losing the house we worked so hard for. The average homeowner stays in one place far longer than the average renter, not always because they love the house, but because moving is so expensive and disruptive. That lack of mobility has a real economic cost: missed promotions or higher paying jobs in other cities, missed chances to reset life after burnout or divorce, missed opportunities to cut expenses dramatically when income drops, missed freedom to live where you actually want to live. The renter. They have far greater choice. Month-to-month or year-to-year leases mean they can move quickly, chase opportunities, reduce costs when needed, or simply change scenery without losing tens of thousands of dollars in transaction fees. That freedom isn't just emotional, it has huge economic value. The ability to say yes to the right job, the right city, or the right life change at the right time can easily be worth hundreds of thousands of dollars over a career. Owning didn't give you roots. It gave you handcuffs that look like a nice front door. We've covered all 7 reasons now. Buying a house in 2026 does not always make you poorer, but for a very large number of people, especially those buying mid to upper range single-family homes, without house hacking, without a major location advantage, and without exceptional income growth, it is quietly making them poorer every month. It's draining their cash flow. It's killing their investment compounding. It's eating away at their profits through fees and repairs. It's shrinking their lifestyle and freedom. And it's doing all of this while they tell themselves, "I'm building wealth." The math is brutal and it's not getting kinder anytime soon. Here's the realistic, no-nonsense advice you can act on right now in 2026. Always calculate the true cost of ownership, never just principal and interest. Use PT plus 1.5 to 2% of the home's value per year for realistic maintenance and repairs. Compare apples to apples. Find rent for a truly comparable house, same size bedrooms, location, quality. Take the monthly difference and assume you invested at 7 to 9% per year, realistic long-term stock market return after fees and taxes. Red flag rule: if the monthly gap is more than $1,000 in favor of renting, then stop and think very hard. That's not a small number, it compounds into hundreds of thousands of dollars over time. If you still decide to buy, do it the smart way. House hack: aggressively rent out rooms, build an ADU, buy a duplex/triplex, choose a location with strong proven long-term growth. Put down at least 20%, avoid PMA. Lower the loan, build a 12 to 18-month emergency fund before closing, lock in a long-term fixed rate. Don't gamble on ARMs, protect yourself from emotion, don't let "I want my own house, I'm scared of being priced out forever," or "everyone I know is buying" override the numbers. Those feelings have already bankrupted a lot of people financially. One final sentence I want you to remember: a house can be where you live, but it is rarely the fastest way to get rich. The fastest way to get rich in 2026 is usually controlling your own cash flow, and millions of people lose that control the moment they sign the purchase contract. So where are you right now, still renting and investing the difference? Paying a mortgage and feeling the squeeze every month? Just bought and already having second thoughts? Drop a comment below and let me know. If you want, share your rough numbers, house price range, income, current rent, down payment, etc. I can help run the specific math for your situation. Thank you for listening all the way through. This stuff isn't fun to hear, but it's stuff you deserve to know before it costs you years of your life. See you in the next one. Take care and choose the path that actually gives you more freedom, not less.